Do we really need to take this much? Joseph, I said, do we need to... What is it?
I've been thinking about the giants, about their armor, those spacesuits. They were weak in the seams. Strangel armor, all armor really, is no different. So even though it's bulletproof, I'm worried it won't hold out against the Cabal's firepower, especially at near point-blank range. It's going to be close-quarters combat in there.
So we should carry shields this time, like the Strangel army did in Shady Hollow, when they came up against Heartland Security?
And just like then, these should deflect the majority of their rounds. Until we can get close enough.
Close enough for what?
It's a shame we don't have more zappers. You know the old rule.
What rule?
Never bring a sword to a gunfight. But hey, these don't need reloaded, right?
I remember.
Joseph took up one of the Strangel sabers and slid the blade of it into the scabbard on my back, the one mounted to my harness. You remember this accessory, right? The one crafted of plant leather that I'd modified to carry both my weapon and my field recorder? I'd worn it on our quest, and then to war. So, yeah, obviously I'd strapped the harness on again for this upcoming mission, the nature of which had started to concern me.
We should probably talk about what our plan is for...
For what?
I don't know what it's called. The rules of engagement or whatever. We're going to destroy the PX-39, and that's it, right? We're not going to...
We are all coming back from this. The armor, the shields, it will keep us safe.
I don't mean our people. I mean theirs.
Speaking of which, how is their metal so strong, Jonas? I don't recall it ever being mentioned in the manuscripts. Did you ever find out?
The Strangel metal wasn't the only thing good at deflecting.
The ore is mined from the mountain, and the metal smelted therefrom. The natives use it for everything. Jewelry, cutlery, the chains from which their beds depend. Everything.
I noticed May had stopped working. She must have been listening to our conversation. Something we said had given her an idea.
May, I can see the gears turning. What's up?
Oh, I was just...
What is it?
You mentioned the armor of the giants having the same weaknesses as our own. They knew this and developed a tactic to...
The testudo, yes.
What if we were to use the giants' phalanx as well? Would that not...
Oh, Maevalesse, that's genius, yes. We absolutely should.
Wait, for real?
I couldn't believe what I was hearing. I'm pretty sure my jaw fell open, but as I looked around the armory, I saw no similar reactions. Apparently, I was the only one shocked to hear May suggest we use something, anything, that had once belonged to the giants, even if it was only a strategy. Remember, these were unholy abominations. My amalgam sister had only ever wanted to destroy these creatures utterly, along with everything they had ever conceived. But I guess she had changed her mind. And maybe for good reason. After all, the battle with the Nephilim had been tipped in our favor when we discovered that their own charging plate could be used to re-energize the zappers.
What of the lightning weapons?
They'll be helpful at the start, but they run dry pretty quick. We'll carry the charging plate with us, of course, but our enemies may not give us the chance to use it.
You expect intense fighting?
This is their home base. I fully expect them to fight just as fiercely for it as your people do for this castle.
They will die for it, I understand.
Yes, they will die for it.
But we're going to avoid that, right? We're not fighting giants this time. Sworn enemies or not, it's gonna be people we come up against. Please tell me that we plan to just wing them, like we did in Shady Hollow? Or capture them?
You wish to subdue them?
Maybe, I guess. I don't know. It's better than the alternative.
We have fought their forces before, Lindsay. They will not surrender.
But we'll give them every available chance, right? I just want to make sure we're not going in there all red in tooth and claw. We're not, right? Joseph? Hello?
Yes, yeah, of course.
We will spare all that we can, Lindsay.
Jonas said this to me as one making a promise, and I believed him. I had learned from Joseph that this man was once a battle-hardened soldier, having engaged in some of the worst combat of World War I, only for him to meet Pendergast and be whisked away to this other planet where he'd again found himself in a vast, bloody conflict. It was while fighting for this elsewhere world that he converted to the faith of the natives, and since then, his ability to coldly kill had left him. Even though his had been much less traditional than ours, Jonas, like Joseph and I, had received a wartime baptism while in the defense of this holy mountain. I didn't like that my husband had sounded rather indifferent to the potential loss of enemy life. Pressing the issue then and there seemed unnecessary. Besides, he was probably just hyper-focused on the task ahead. But there was definitely something there that worried me. A dark undercurrent of... I honestly didn't know what.
These lightning weapons you speak of, they are the zappers, Hardesty's handiwork. From what I have gathered from the podcast, they are not unlike Pendergast's particle beam cannon, yes?
The what?
Our guy Pendergast had his own ray gun, a massive one. It was actually mounted atop the Midnight Lightning once upon a time. He used it to take out like half of the Atlantean army when they marched on the mountain back in the day.
That he did.
Yikes.
The zappers aren't as strong, of course, but they are mobile. We have two. You can carry one if you like, Jonas.
Thank you, no. I have my own bolt of lightning.
We all looked to Jonas as he strode across the armory. He took a stance before one of the many weapon racks against that wall. Instead of selecting any of the bladed instruments, however, he turned from them and knelt. We watched as Jonas dug his fingers under one of the stone pavers and turned it aside. He did this with several more. There was something hidden in the floor, something buried long ago. The man paused, as if reconsidering, and simply stared down into the hole he'd made. Jonas was the only one of us who could see what he'd uncovered. And since he was hesitating to extract the mystery item, the rest of us were left to guess. Well, I was left to guess, anyway. Everyone else, including my husband, knew exactly what it was.
Jonas, you still have it?
Have what? What's down there?
They made this for me in commemoration.
Of what?
The prophecy. It foretold of a defender who would come from the world of the enemy, but one who would fight against his own kind on behalf of the Ariels.
The prophecy claimed that the defender would arrive here in a bolt of lightning at midnight.
Oh, of course. The Pendergast marvel, the Midnight Lightning. You drove it here through the portal. That's how the prophecy was fulfilled.
The first time, yes.
First time?
I have listened to every word of your story, Lindsay.
The podcast, yeah, so?
You and Joseph came to this other world at the height of an electrical storm, did you not? And at midnight?
I wasn't really looking at my watch, but...
As I have said, my friends, a prophecy can be fulfilled twice.
Yeah, Joseph reminded me of that.
Your arrival here was just a little more literal than my own.
Jonas smiled as he said this, then reached into the floor and withdrew a sword, a very unique one. It had been forged with a jagged blade, the zigzag angles making it a bolt of metallic lightning. This Jonas had wielded against his own kind, and now he would do so again. This is the Endless Elsewhere podcast, Chapter 27, The Way Least Taken. With a sword now slung upon my back, I tucked the field recorder into that pouch at my shoulder and tightened the straps of my harness. This was the extent of my preparation. The bulk of our weaponry, along with the armor and shields, the whole medieval arsenal, was bundled and bound to the Leviathan for the watery stretch of our journey. Clyde and several of his companions saw to this. Then they stowed their own battle array as well, doing likewise with their breathing apparatuses. All but Clyde would swim alongside the Leviathan like a school of fish shadowing a whale. Our aquatic friend alone kept his equipment in place, as he would be in the saddle with his air-breathing friends. Just as he had from the coast of the mainland to the archipelago, Clyde would lead the Leviathan across the waves, making sure it remained above the surface for our sakes. As ever, the Strangels were divided in their reactions to our departure. Some worried we'd never return. Others hoped we would not. The last time we'd set off from the realm, May had left Remy behind to keep an eye on things. But we had no such ally anymore. At least not one as well trusted. But the cadre, we felt, was weakened enough at this point to ensure that we would have a home to return to. We hoped so, anyway. It helped that this mission of ours was not a divisive issue among the Strangels. It meant little to them. We were not going off to battle some evil on their behalf, not this time. This was a personal errand of ours that required nothing more from the winged people than some provisions. Once we'd collected these, we were ready to go. Joseph and I had never gone downriver before. We knew that the waterway snaked all through the mountain chain before emptying into the sea, but we'd never traveled the route. It could be a perilous excursion. That didn't dampen the sense of adventure in my husband, though. Even with his aversion to water, Joseph was still eager to get going. It was at his prompting that our company made a quick hike down to the edge of the river. Clyde's presence, his scent, brought the Leviathan to the surface. The aquatic made a gesture, a command, and the mighty thing came onto the shore. The creature was smooth and elegant in its motion, especially for its size. Clyde mounted first, then beckoned the rest of us aboard. Our aquatic friend was in the foremost seat of the multi-rider saddle, the reins of the Leviathan clasped in his webbed hands. May took the seat behind him, Jonas behind her, and I behind him. Joseph was at the very back, but didn't seem to mind. As planned, the Feowick sisters would follow us from above, so the trio poised themselves on the shore, ready to launch when we did. The Leviathan, with that undulating membrane connecting its front and rear flippers, what I have called its water wings, would carry us at an impressive speed. I knew this from our previous experience with it, and worried about Lynnzavieve and her sisters keeping up. But the Ariels had wings of their own and would prove that they could easily match pace with us from above, just as the aquatics could from the water below. And so, we set off. Jonas had earlier implied, or at least Joseph had inferred, that the only better way to tell this story, aside from as radio plays, would be as motion pictures, as movies. And like I said then, it was hard to argue with that. My only real regret about this podcast is that it's audio alone. I don't recall feeling the absence of the visual element in our first 3 seasons. You know, when I wasn't burdened with trying to describe a whole other world to you. Sure, there was plenty of the otherworldly for you to imagine back then, but it wasn't like now, where the entire setting is alien. I have done my absolute best to help you envision it, listener, but even if you think I've done a decent job, trust me, I've let you down. However, the impossibility of fully conveying to you the magnificence and the majesty of this sister Earth has not kept me from trying. Just revisit Season 4, our wordiest season, for proof of that. And every time we saw a new portion of this planet, as we were then rafting down a river through the mountain chain, I was reminded, anguished, of the futility of our efforts. A picture is worth 1,000 words on Earth, but here the value is so much higher, I promise you. So, yeah, all of that is to say I wish I'd brought a bag full of cameras instead of field recorders. And that was also my poetic way of skirting a full recount of our journey by describing it as indescribable. What I can relay accurately, if not prosaically, is that by the time the river connected with the sea, the sun was in decline. As planned, we followed the coast very closely for as long as we had the light to do so. When the twin moons began to push themselves into view, we knew it was time to stop. The Leviathan was directed ashore, and all of us, save our driver, dismounted. Clyde remained atop the creature as he would soon return to the sea to join his fellows there. Our party needed to make camp for the night. Us air breathers would do so upon the beach, whereas the aquatics would do so in the waters just off the coast. Besides, Clyde needed to shed the cumbersome apparatus he'd worn all day. To ease the burden of the Leviathan as well, the Ariels, before they joined us on the sand, fluttered to it and unstrapped our gear from the animal. We didn't want our armor and weapons, but especially our bedding and provisions, getting waterlogged. Once our things were removed from it, the great creature undulated its water wings and wriggled backward, slipping beneath the surface. Clyde raised his hand and signed something to us just before he sank out of sight.
What did that mean?
He said goodnight.
Oh, of course.
They're a fascinating people, aren't they?
Indeed. But then the same can be said of all those who call this world home.
Jonas, have you met any more since you've been here? Other sentients, I mean. Or is it just the aerials, the amalgams, and the aquatics?
We have not met any other peoples, no. But that does not mean there are none.
Really? You think there are others?
This world is bigger than our own. Seems like a lot of wasted space if there's no one else out there. I wonder if we'll ever meet any of them.
Perhaps. If such a meeting between peoples is to happen, I wager it would not be us to greet the newcomers, but rather our friends out there.
The aquatics.
It is their nature to explore.
Whereas the Strangels tend to be homebodies. Yeah, we've noticed that about them. It's a weird characteristic for people with wings, if you ask me. No offense, Lynnzavieve.
I take no insult, my dear.
This is why our oceanic allies will be the first to encounter any other, unless...
Unless what?
Unless visitors from a distant land ever come here.
Is that possible?
Technologically, this world is hundreds of years behind us, but, eventually...
Eventually someone, somewhere, could start building ships and come rolling up onto this very shore.
And it could happen within our lifetime.
Or that of our children.
That's kind of scary to think about. Considering how all that kind of thing went down in our own history. But, hey, maybe they'll come in peace.
We can only hope so.
I expected Jonas to give me a look. I wish he had, honestly. It would have been better. Instead, he turned his gaze to the horizon and left it there, as if he expected to see the first of some unknown armada pushing into view through the growing darkness. I could tell that he and Lynnzavieve had mulled this over before, especially when she mentioned their children. The two of them had fought so hard for this world, to preserve it for the following generations. But peace was nothing they could ultimately guarantee. The only invaders this world had ever endured were those from Earth. At some point, however, they may face a threat from within their own sphere, from another native people. Jonas seemed to regard it less like a possibility and more like an eventuality. Or maybe that was just the defender in him, trying to be ready for anything. Lynnzavieve pushed to her husband's side, setting a hand on his. She quietly beckoned him back to the here and now. He blinked, as if reawakening. Jonas smiled and raised the Ariel's hand to his lips, kissing it. Then he looked to the rest of us, suggesting we prepare our camp. We agreed and turned to do so, seeing that May, who had slipped away without our notice, was already building a fire. It was soon roaring. Around the light and warmth of the blaze, we lay out our bedrolls and blankets. Then we partook of our provisions. After dinner, our little group settled in for the night. Only the Feowick sisters went immediately to sleep, unsurprising as they had been in flight all day. The rest of us who'd been carried here were less exhausted, and so we remained awake for a time. Except for May, that is, who lay down upon her belly, wings steepled, as if she too was going to sleep. I doubt that she drifted off quickly, though. The warrior woman would not let her guard down so soon. There's always an unease about being out in the open, especially in the unfamiliar wild. So we sat around the fire in silence, listening for the faintest sound of something approaching. We haven't had the best of luck when it comes to camping uninterrupted. I'm happy to report, however, that we were left undisturbed that night. When my mind relaxed enough to do so, I thought back to something my husband mentioned not long ago.
Joseph, you said earlier that this world is bigger than Earth. How do you know that?
I don't, not for sure. I assume it is because Pendergast theorized it, and he was seldom wrong. but I often am, even about things from the books, so maybe I should verify. That is what you recorded him saying in your manuscript, right, Jonas?
Yes, that's quite right.
What?
Jonas shook his head. He still couldn't believe that his century-old manuscript and 2 others like it had actually survived to the modern day and were available for anyone to read. Even now, having listened to our podcast front to back and having heard Joseph explain the book bearers in detail, he was still reeling from it. But for those of you who do not have a near-perfect memory like Jonas Gentry, the book bearers were a group of people who would carry one of the 3 manuscripts for a time before entrusting it to someone else. This handoff policy was to keep the books moving and away from the Cabal, but it also kept the truth circulating among the people. Max Averick, the author of the 3rd and final Pendergast Chronicle, initiated this strategy. He had been a magician, so the man knew a thing or two about making things vanish, only to reappear.
He spoke well of you, Jonas. Max, I mean. You should read his account of the time he spent with you in Pendergast.
I should like to, yes. His story is also on your computing device?
It sure is, yes.
May I also read the stories you collected from Circle City?
Yeah, of course. They're all on there too. Well, no, not all of them. That is, if you mean the ones that I haven't published yet.
The ones you got because of the podcast? That were sent to your old P.O. box?
The stories unearthed by your listeners, yes.
I don't have digital versions of those, I'm afraid. I didn't get the chance to put them out, which is a shame because I already finished the investigative work for each. I even have the forwards and afterwards written up. I would have had the new anthology out long before now, but...
But he was a little busy with a certain podcast.
Right. So, yeah, it took me longer than it should have. I'd planned to put them all out together into another book, a 2nd volume of stories like the first one, but as you know, Lindsay and I sorta had to leave the Earth.
Maybe someday, though.
Right. Someday. It's not like those stories are going anywhere. They're locked up in my vault, safe and sound, just like your original manuscript and all the others.
It does sound like quite the repository. It was certainly the will and the work of the Creator that all these stories found their way to you, Joseph.
I'm not so sure if that's true about everything in my vault, however.
You mean Grendel's painting?
There's a lot of ugliness around it.
What? Don't say that. We use it for the podcast cover. Oh, you mean metaphorically.
Whereas the painting's journey ended with Joseph. I was there for the start of it, when Mr. Winston gunned down Grendel and stole his artwork.
The deathless Charlie Winston. It's been a bit since we've talked about that Old West outlaw who cheated death and still walks the earth to this day, who traveled with Pendergast first to the land of phantoms, then to this other world, and who is...
Yes, Lindsay, we know all of this.
Oh, right. You've listened to the whole thing. Ugh, I'm really starting to regret that now.
Why ever so?
Joseph knows your story backward and forward, and now you know ours too, so it's gonna make conversations difficult to have without them feeling repetitive. But we need to have them for the sake of the podcast.
Oh, recapping, you mean? I know what that is now.
Yes, that.
So we have the beginning and the end of its journey, but we're missing everything in between. We don't even know how or when the painting got separated from Winston, let alone how or when it ended up in Circle City.
The answer is obvious, Joseph.
It is?
Listening to your podcast, I kept expecting you to make the connection, but you never did. Upon returning to the Earth, Winston and the Bard sought out Adelaide to protect her from the Cabal. They escorted her and the family she'd made back to the Pendergast ancestral home in Circle City. Winston, the former grave digger, had excavated the passageway that was now buried in the rubble of the house. He dug the shaft with a trapdoor at the top of the hill. Then he lived there with them for a time.
He brought the painting with him to Circle City.
And he left it behind before he moved on.
Simple as that, huh?
It seems to me the most plausible solution.
I guess we could just ask Winston if we ever meet him.
That seems like a long shot. But then, here we are sitting around a campfire with Jonas Gentry, so maybe it's not so long a shot after all.
Good point. Well, Jonas, if you do read the third manuscript, there's something you may find interesting. A conversation you were not present for between Max and Winston. The magician told the outlaw that his curse could actually be a blessing. That is, if he chose to use it as such.
His immortality, you mean?
Max thought that maybe Charlie Winston had been gifted with it for a reason. He even had a theory about those vultures that are always circling him.
What theory?
What vultures?
A trio of buzzards that circle Winston from the sky. They follow him everywhere.
Even when he came to this other world, they pursued him through the portal, and back again when he departed.
So they're what? Waiting for him to die? But he's immortal. And how would they...
Because they are not birds.
Oh. Creepy.
Did we not talk about that part, Lindsay?
If we did, I don't remember the birds. And we did a deep dive on Winston. Even went to his false grave.
In Circle City Cemetery.
You've seen it? So you know about the...
Yes, I was there, when it was being dug up.
That's when he met Pendergast, remember?
Oh, yeah. That part I do remember. You were there at the grave of your... To say goodbye, that is, to your...
Yes, well, we needn't recap everything.
Jonas tossed a glance around him to see if anyone else was awake or if the near mention had been overheard. Clearly, he preferred not to discuss the subject, but treated it more like a secret to be kept. Jonas then put the conversation back on track.
And no, Joseph, you did not ever tell Lindsay about Winston's pets.
I did leave it out? Dang. Sorry, it's hard to remember everything. There's just so much going on in those books.
You should really read them, Lindsay.
Yeah. So what was Max's theory about these birds? That were not birds.
He suggested that the vultures were actually angels in disguise watching over Winston, protecting him.
The source of his immortality. But why is Winston meant to stay alive?
To fight the evil that awaits in the future. It is his purpose.
I pray that it is so. I pray that Winston is on the road to redemption, that he has or will hear the call, as we have.
The call?
Of the Creator.
Oh, right. You're all in on this, aren't you?
All in?
On the faith of the Strangels and the Aquatics. You belong to it.
As do you now. The two of you were baptized into it as I was, yes?
Not exactly as you were.
Well, that's true, but close enough.
You fell into the limpid font. By accident, mind you, but still you entered the forbidden pool locked inside that temple back at the castle. Forbidden because...
To be submerged in its waters is to emerge on the other side without the need for death.
So it really is a doorway to the spirit realm? You were there?
Briefly.
And that's where you saw the angel? The one who followed you through the portal from Earth and was with you on all your adventures here?
That is correct. Joseph explained all of this to you in Season 4.
Refresh me. So, after you came back to the real world...
The physical world. Over there, that is the real world.
Right. Sorry. So, once you got back to the physical world, the angel remained behind to guard the limpid font until the end of time, so that it will never be used again?
And she's doing a good job of it, based on your recordings.
You mean when the giant Despair crashed through the door of the temple and got himself killed?
Smote, I believe, was Joseph's word. If you can believe it, I had an even more profound experience with the spiritual realm.
Did you?
In your first season, Joseph told you about a thin place, a sheer portion in the veil that divides our physical plane from the incorporeal, whereas the limpid font is a door to the other side. This is a window. But like the limpid font, it too had a fortress built around it to protect it.
I'm really starting to envy that memory of yours, Jonas. No, I don't remember.
On Earth, in the land of phantoms, from which all of those creatures migrated to Circle City, and to which they are now returning, there is a crater, and at the bottom of it, a castle.
Oh, right. Where Pendergast found and fought Grindel.
Twice. I was with him on the second occasion. While in that thin place, we saw through to the other side.
You saw through the window? What did you see, Jonas?
A great battle, greater than any in which I have ever taken part. I should very much like to know how Max described it in his chronicle, Joseph.
Very sparingly. He had trouble comprehending what he saw.
As did we all.
So it was a war? Between who?
Warriors of light and those of darkness, multitudes of both.
I don't understand.
It was for us that they fought, and had been, and still are.
Jonas went quiet. He just stared into the fire, dwelling on the memory. Looking to Joseph, I saw that he did as well. Not on his own memory, of course, but on someone else's. He was recalling that sparing description Max had penned in his chronicle. That likely would have been the end of our talk, had I let it be, but I wasn't quite ready to be done just yet. I still had one more question.
What can you tell us about our faith, Jonas? It would be nice to have another human's perspective. Joseph and I are still new to all of this, still trying to figure it out, but you've been a part of it for a long time now. I was hoping you could...
You may find my answer disappointing.
How so?
There is no difference between the faith of this world and our own. The same God who formed the earth formed her sister as well. He's been calling to you both long before you stepped through that cosmic doorway. The two of you did not find God on another world. It is simply quieter here. Easier to hear the still, small voice of Him.
If you say so. But, I mean, if He really is there, why have things been so hard for us?
To walk the one true path is to lead the hardest possible life. Take that as evidence for it being the right one. That is why so few remain upon the narrow road. That is why it is the way least taken.
Neither Joseph nor I responded. We didn't know how to. Our meandering conversation had landed on the spiritual, and there was nowhere else for it to go after that. At least, nowhere better. Jonas had given us much to think about, and we did so until sleep overtook us. The next morning, Joseph and I woke, looking to one another, mirroring each other's grimace. Also rousing, Jonas glanced over and noticed our exchange.
Bad dreams?
No, it's not that. It's nothing. Don't worry about it.
We just...
What?
We miss our coffee.
Well, the last of which was in your cabin, wasn't it?
It was...
So, when your home was destroyed...
the coffee went with it, yes.
Well, I can sympathize.
You can?
In his book, Jonas recorded his own profound love for coffee.
Oh, gotcha. But after all this time, you probably don't miss it, huh? Probably don't even remember what it tastes like.
Actually, I do.
Oh. But you don't still crave it, right?
Actually, I do.
Well, dang. I guess there's no hope for us.
I guess not. Good morning, May.
Before we set off today, we ought to train in the phalanx.
Sure, but after breakfast, yeah?
Very well.
As the others dug out the provisions, I got up and followed after May. I stood with her farther down the beach, near the water's edge.
You okay?
Of course.
Come on, May. We've got to be past the tough girl routine at this point. Tell me what's bothering you. You've barely spoken a word since we left the castle.
The less one speaks, the more one can observe.
Okay.
Something is wrong. I have been trying to... But I cannot...
Put your finger on it? Is it the mission? I know you had your reservations.
It must be that, yes, but I do not know. There is something more. It disturbs me.
Let's get something to eat. Then we'll train in some warfare. That'll cheer you up.
And that's what we did. After a quick bite of our rations, we assembled our shields, and there on the beach, like rehearsing a dance, we practiced our own, smaller version of the Giants' Testudo. Being the tallest, Joseph and Jonas were in the middle, their shields held overhead to act as the roof of our marching fortress, while May, the Feowick sisters, and I surrounded the men, acting as the walls. A problem immediately presented itself, however. The wings of the Strangels were difficult to keep covered. They kept peeking out. We worked on it, though, adjusting our phalanx to ensure that their butterfly sails remained safely tucked inside of our mobile shell. Now, keeping the shields overlapped? That was a harder issue to solve. They had to be no different than the scales of some invincible dragon. It was so tricky because it all depended on us moving at the exact same pace, as if only one entity, some kind of superorganism. But hey, that's the point of practicing, right? Still far from perfect, we'd made decent progress, especially for our first go at it. We would have trained longer, except the Leviathan surfaced from the ocean and glided ashore. Seated atop the great creature, Clyde, now back in his apparatus, waved for us to join him. Our aquatic driver looked on as we hurriedly broke camp. The aerials assembled and flew our gear to the Leviathan and strapped it all back into place, then hovered above as the rest of us climbed into the wet saddle. I winced, but knew the discomfort would not last long. We would dry out soon enough. The constant wind of our swiftly moving transport would ensure it. As soon as we were all mounted, we set off, plying through the waves of the sea. Like yesterday, we traced the coast while keeping a safe distance from it. Today's journey promised to mimic yesterday's, but the promise was not kept. Only a couple of hours in, the Leviathan lurched to a sudden, jarring halt. All of us in the saddle rocked forward, then back again, but thankfully avoided whiplash. This was, as far as I knew, the most graceful creature native to this other world, so the abruptly violent stop came at twice the shock.
What the heck happened?
Guessing it's not a flat tire.
The creature senses something.
Jonas, what is it?
We don't know.
There! The other aquatics are coming up.
What are they saying to Clyde? Lynnzavieve, what's wrong with the Leviathan?
It smells blood in the water. They smell it also.
It better not be mermaids again.
What blood?
What is it, my love?
It is the blood of giants.
What? Are they sure? How do they even know the smell?
From our war with the giants long ago. Their blood is unnatural, not the kind to be easily forgotten.
Right.
Clyde finished signing with his companions below him in the water, then twisted in the saddle to face his passengers. He gesticulated quickly to Lynnzavieve. While the aquatics have no spoken language, there was still a tone to what he said. It was in the motion of his fingers. They were overly erratic, and then overly slow. Clyde was afraid.
He asks what we are to do.
Should we turn back?
Absolutely not.
But Joseph, what if...
If it's giant blood that they smell, then it's giant blood that has been spilled. The creature is probably dead already. We should continue with the mission.
We can't just press on without knowing. What if this thing is on its way to the mountain? We should check it out, right?
Jonas, what say you?
Maevalesse was always our leader, but with Jonas Gentry back among us, she deferred to him, as did we all now. Having faced every enemy known to this world and our own, he was our de facto commander.
If there is a giant left in this land, in this world, with even a trace of life in him still, then we must extinguish it.
Lynnzavieve nodded and signed to Clyde that we were to investigate. She did not return to the air, but rather called her sisters down to join us in the saddle. It was wiser to stay together, in case of an attack. Clyde hesitated only briefly before relaying the order to his people in the water. Theirs was a proud, duty-bound race, They wouldn't be on this quest if they weren't, and so the aquatic contingent agreed and started off. They swam alongside the Leviathan when it moved forward again, all of them following the trail of blood. Those of us above the surface scanned the passing coastline, looking for any sign of activity. Jonas, who'd employed his spyglass again, was the first to spot it. Through his interpreting wife, he asked Clyde to take us ashore. We dismounted slowly, cautiously, and not before retrieving our weapons. Now armed, we moved up the beach. All around us in the sand was debris of some kind. Splintered fragments of glinting metal.
What is all this?
Jonas, is this...
It looks like it, doesn't it?
Looks like what?
This metal. It looks like it came from the vessel.
One of the twin spacecraft, you mean? The one that you brought down?
The one that crashed into the ocean and sank? From which the pods later ejected? So what? This is where the giants washed up?
No, not here. This is where they landed while on their campaign against the mountain. Recall, they returned to the Lost Isles before their attack.
Oh, right. So maybe this wreckage belongs to their pods? The ones they were using as boats?
But how did they get all torn up? Were they attacked?
That would explain why there's giant blood in the water, wouldn't it?
Perhaps, but it was fresh blood they smelled. There.
Jonas had put away his spyglass when we made landfall, only to immediately require it again. But now he was turned away from the land, giving his attention back to the ocean we'd just left. The man was scanning the waves when he'd spotted something being tossed back and forth between them. Jonas pointed it out to the rest of us. He'd used his lens to spot it, but the rest of Jonas's companions could make it out from this distance because of the enormous size of the thing. It took me a minute to realize it was a Nephilim corpse floating at the surface.
So did that one drown in his pod, then come free of it? Or something like that?
Oh, maybe. I mean, it makes sense that not all of them would have survived the ejection from the spacecraft.
Shouldn't something have gobbled him up by now?
Nothing here will eat Nephilim flesh. The wildlife have an aversion to it.
Right. The natural flee the unnatural.
My dear, would you please ask our friends to bring the body ashore?
It took some work on her part, but Lynnzavieve convinced Clyde to have a couple of his fellows swim out to the body and tow it to the beach for our inspection. I rather wished the aerial had not been so persuasive once the Nephilim cadaver lay before us in the sand. It was hideous. More so than usual, I mean. It had suffered severe trauma. I couldn't keep a steady gaze on the gore. I had to look away often. And don't even ask about the smell.
I thought you said nothing would eat it.
These are not the marks of feeding. This damage was done to the creature before it went back into the water.
Back into the water? So it was fleeing?
They all were.
What do you mean? You think there are more?
There were. Remember, the giants used the river to reach the mountain, the same path we just retraced to get here.
Yeah, so?
What if a surprise attack from behind wasn't the only reason they used the river? What if they couldn't reach us by land?
You believe that they came ashore, only to be driven back to sea?
Driven by what? You think there's something living here that they couldn't get around? What happened to all wildlife fleeing the giants?
Maybe there's an exception. Something that does not fear them. Something that they fear.
Like whatever did this.
Indeed.
I gave my attention back to the mutilated body before us. What could have done this to a giant? I glanced at Joseph and he at me. Then we both looked to the natives for the answer. Our eyes darted first to the amalgam, then to the aerials. They were, somehow, as mystified as us.
We do not know what manner of creature could have done this. These are wild lands. They are unknown to us.
You don't know? How do you not know? We're not that far from the mountain range.
Like I said earlier, homebodies.
Is there another route we can take to reach the canyon?
I do not believe so. However, my sisters and I can fly ahead.
To look for danger?
To find a safe path, yes. Jonas?
At the first sign of anything...
We will return at once. I promise.
The Feowick sisters took to the air and were soon out of sight. We knew there was danger lurking somewhere, but we were relatively confident that the women would be safely out of reach of it in the sky. It was the rest of us who needed to worry. Sitting out in the open seemed unadvisable, so while the aerials were away, it was decided that we should lay low. That was literally true for the Leviathan and the other aquatics, who then sank below the waves again, but not before depositing all of our gear upon the beach. We collected and stashed it out of the way, out of sight. Without our translator, we couldn't communicate with Clyde, but he made it clear to us that he wished to stay with his air-breathing friends, so he went along with us to find our own hiding place in the hinterland. We did not venture far, of course, not closer to whatever this unseen threat was. We just went far enough to find some cover. A short hike away from the beach stood a forest. Our group moved inside the tree line, but went no deeper in, nor did we set up camp or make a fire. Nothing to make ourselves known here. Besides, our winged scouts probably wouldn't be gone long enough to necessitate either. At least, we hoped not. Being away from the shore now, the roar of the sea wasn't as pervasive. We could more easily hear in this newfound stillness, but then, so too could we be more easily heard. For this reason, we restricted our conversations, keeping them to a few whispered words only. After a couple of hours, we relaxed a bit, and I, for one, began to enjoy the peace and quiet. But we were to soon lose both. Clyde had taken a seat, crossing his arms and legs in the meditative posture that wearing his apparatus required. From this seemingly serene rest, he jerked backward, then leapt clumsily into an alarmed stance. This startled the rest of us, and we also clambered into defensive positions. We looked all around, weapons in hand, ready for whatever. But none of us saw or heard a thing. Our attention returned to Clyde for an explanation, but he couldn't give it, not without Lynnzavieve. He was frantically trying to convey something to us. We tried, but could not read his signing. Clyde, frustrated with our ignorance and growing fearful, then knelt to the ground and placed his palm flat upon it.
What? What's wrong?
Clyde, what are you saying? We don't know what that means.
He feels something.
It is the vibration of the ground.
Our aquatic friend, having no auditory sense, was far more sensitive in every other way, so he'd felt the tremors first. But then, in the moment that followed, the rest of us did too. This could only mean that it was getting closer. Whatever this was, something big enough to shake the ground. I suddenly envied Clyde. He was the first to know that the creature was coming, but at least he didn't have to hear it.
What was that?
Behemoth.
It is ahead of us.
And coming this way.
What do we do?
With panic overtaking us, we didn't notice Clyde was now hurriedly waving to us. Eventually, he grabbed Joseph by the arm to get his attention. The aquatic gestured forcefully for us to go back the way we'd come, back to the ocean. The giants had done this, we might as well too. The five of us turned tail and sprinted back through the hinterland. The behemoth, as Joseph had spontaneously named it, was quickly closing the distance between us. We heard it bending, even splintering trees as it crashed through the woodland. We quickened our pace, our flight more desperate with every step. We'd not ventured deep into the forest, and were soon out of it again. We faltered down the beach, going as far as the water's edge. Clyde alone kept on, diving into the sea. The aquatic vanished into the water as if he'd forgotten that the rest of us could not join him in the safety of its depths.
Clyde! Wait! We can't! Where's he going?
About face. Ready your weapons.
Jonas drew his bolt of metallic lightning as May leveled her spear at the shoulder, ready to hurl it. It would be Joseph and I who would send the first volley, however. We turned the zappers on the forest. We were not made to wait long. There was, mercifully, no time to dread the nearing of the thing. We'd no sooner taken aim at the tree line than the behemoth burst therefrom. It was just as enormous as we'd assumed. But that was the only thing about the creature we could have guessed correctly. I, for one, had expected something bestial, maybe akin to the manticores, but it was more insectan, like a gigantic beetle. 6 stilted legs upheld a rounded body, shelled in an exoskeleton, and running across the back of this armor were rows of defensive spines. The face of the creature was a frightful mess of horrors. It clapped its enormous, slathering mandibles together, then flung them wide again to reveal a barbed tongue. It had as many eyes as it did legs, and every last one of the inky black orbs rolled toward us.
Fire!
I thought I was supposed to be impressed by these things, Joseph.
Yeah, sorry, they're usually much more effective.
I think we just made it mad. What now?
We should separate. It can only chase one of us at a time.
Right. If we split up, then...
Here it comes!
The Leviathan!
I've seen a lot of crazy things since starting this podcast, and I expect to see plenty more, but a knockdown, drag-out kaiju dust-up? That's top 10, easily. So if you couldn't tell from that chaotic recording, the Leviathan came lunging from the sea to confront the behemoth. Clyde, who'd gone to get the creature for this very purpose, was then bucked from the saddle when the two titans clashed. Fortunately, he was tossed backward and landed safely in the ocean. Actually, being thrown from the fight probably saved his life, as the two mammoth things then wrestled and rolled, tumbling over each other in acts that would have certainly crushed our aquatic friend. The stronger behemoth would have overcome the Leviathan, and very nearly did, had our mount not smartly forced a change of venue, dragging its hulking opponent out into the ocean, where it would have the advantage. Even still, the insect thing raged and would have battled the sea creature to a draw, ensuring the death of them both. However, the aquatics were quick to reinforce the Leviathan. Like a school of piranha, they swarmed the behemoth. We didn't see any of this, of course, as both vanished beneath the waves, but we easily guessed the outcome by the sudden reddening of the surface. I cringed, imagining the aquatics' enormous mouths and multiple rows of serrated teeth going to work on the creature. For so large a thing, it would have been death by 1,000 cuts. The sanguine sea soon began to bubble, then calm. It was over. The behemoth was on its way down, but so too was the Leviathan. Don't misunderstand, it had survived, but the seafloor was the place for it to recover. All of this was confirmed later in the day, when Clyde and the Faowick sisters eventually rejoined us on the beach. The aquatic resurfaced and came ashore not long after our scouts alighted upon the sand. Through Lynnzavieve, we learned that Clyde's fellows were attending to the Leviathan's wounds, but any further travel was out of the question, at least for now. So there went our ride. We could hardly be annoyed, however. The creature had saved our lives and nearly given its own to do so. Even still, from here, we would have to go on foot. The journey would take far longer than expected. I sighed wearily at the thought. But when I saw Lynnzavieve smile, I knew that I'd despaired too soon. When she and her sisters had returned, they had done so to the aftermath of the gargantuan death match. But now our focus shifted to what they had discovered on their mission.
You found it, didn't you?
It's not far. My sisters and I can guide all of you there.
You really saw that?
But not that giant monster? How did you miss that?
Lindsay, it was in the woodland, under the canopy. They couldn't have seen it.
You didn't see the trees moving or anything?
I am sorry, Lindsay. Had we had known, we would have warned you.
I had no reason to doubt the aerial and nodded, but didn't apologize for the insinuation. Although, I kinda wish that I had, based on what we discovered later, something that vindicated the aerials entirely. But for now, we had a hike to make. May suggested we get going now since our return to the hinterland would be slower than before. We had to burden all of our own gear, you see, and we had not packed lightly. Emptying that makeshift cache we'd made on the shore, each of us now had a bundled mass of armor and weaponry upon our backs. This was in addition to our provisions and camping materials, mind you. I tried not to grumble about it, and my self-pity all but vanished when the aquatic contingent came ashore to join us. They had just as much equipment and supplies to carry as us, but they had to do so while bound up in those cumbersome breathing apparatuses. I couldn't even imagine how much more difficult this journey would be for them to make than us. And they were only coming out of loyalty. Joseph did a quick head count and noticed we were shy a few aquatics. Clyde had left 4 of his fellows behind to nurse the Leviathan. Joseph understood, but was vexed, as was May. I tried to assure them both that the amount coming with us would be plenty. Neither one seemed convinced, but for their own reasons, and neither of them shared what these reasons were. Lynnzavieve had said it wasn't far, but she and her sisters could fly, so what took them hours would take us days. 3 days, to be exact. As I've done before on this podcast, I'll give you only the highlights, the items of interest. It was a mundane trek anyway, but mundane was more than welcome. We weren't attacked by any more giant beetle monsters, is what I mean. We did discover something about the behemoth, though. It was subterranean, at least partly. The second day of our hike, we found a sizable hole in the ground, the upturned soil looking like a meteorite impact. But something had burst from underneath, not above. This is how the aerials had not seen the creature. It had buried itself, probably to sleep. The Failwick sisters had flown right over it without ever knowing they had. Then, once they were well past it, the behemoth unearthed itself. It might have sensed the rest of us coming inland. Or maybe it just got hungry. Who knows? Anyway, early on the 3rd day, our expedition came to the edge of yet another hole in the ground. This one was far larger in comparison. It was also our destination. This was the canyon, the one whose location and depth apparently corresponded to the Bunker of Babel on Earth. May went first. She threw out her wings and stepped over the side, gliding, spiraling down to the bottom. The aerials offered to fly the rest of us down one at a time, which avoided a risky descent of the narrow slope and also saved us time. They began with the aquatics, then the humans. Our group was soon reassembled on the ravine floor. We had a rest, a meal, then we began to unbundle all of our armor and fixed it into place. After our failed attempt to bring down the behemoth with them, Joseph had recharged the zappers. They were about to get another chance to prove themselves. As for the charging plate itself, Joseph had cleverly strapped it to the inside of his shield. It made the thing heavier, but at least that vital piece of technology would be protected. It would also be readily available for our use.
Over there. That's where I opened the portal last time.
And so you must do so again, Jonas. Both now and later.
But I'm going with you.
I ask that you and your family stay behind.
Stay behind?
What? No, Maevalesse, we're gonna need them.
We have the aquatics to guard the portal. That's still the plan, right?
Yes, but some remained with the creature to tend to it. We have fewer than anticipated.
Is it really going to make that much of a difference, May?
It is not only the diminished number. None of our allies know how to operate the vessel.
Can't you teach Clyde to work that thing? I know you're afraid of losing the orb to the Cabal, but...
It is Jonas that we cannot lose to our enemies.
What do you mean?
You have seen what happened during your banishment, Jonas. We need you here. The Maker sent you to this world. He did not intend for you to return. Please remain behind.
May was clearly uncomfortable giving Jonas Gentry orders. It was awkward for them both. I recalled May's feelings that something was off. She had a foul sense about this whole thing, but couldn't pinpoint it. Whatever the danger, she wished to keep her pseudo-father away from it. Jonas looked to his wife. She seemed to understand May. Lynnzavieve nodded. Jonas, as surprised as the rest of us, resigned himself to stay back.
Me and mine will remain.
As soon as we're through. Close it and do not reopen the doorway until the end of day.
Whoa, hang on. That is not going to be enough time, especially if it's just the three of us.
As the Keeper, that is how much time I am affording us. A quick, precise strike. That is how you described this mission, Joseph. We get in, destroy the accursed machine, and make our return before they even realize. Yes?
As my husband and amalgam sister quarreled, I noticed Lynnzavieve translating for the sake of her sisters and the aquatics. Learning that it would only be the three of us going, Clyde stepped forward and stood at my side. He would be coming along. May tried to dismiss him, but he was adamant. His warriors would guard the doorway between worlds, but this aquatic was going through it. May, seeing that she could not dissuade him, relented.
Very well, but he does not know our phalanx.
Don't worry about him. He's a quick learner.
Can we even form the testudo with only 4 people?
We'll find out.
Jonas handed his shield over to Clyde. The aquatic passed his harpoon to his other hand to accept the gift. Inside of his water-filled helmet, Clyde spread that gigantic shark-like smile. Jonas nodded in return, then pivoted to Joseph and offered his sword, that bolt of metallic lightning. Being another one of those artifacts from the books, one of the many things that my husband had spent years reading about, he reached for the weapon with reverence. Before he could take it in hand, however, he stopped himself.
No, it's Lindsay who's best with the sword. She should have it.
Oh, I really don't need to.
Jonas stepped closer and pulled the sword from the scabbard on my back, replacing it with his own. It barely fit and was so much heavier. I would have continued to politely refuse the offering, except that he looked down into my eyes and said this.
When your lightning weapon fails, remember, you have one last bolt of it still. May this serve you as well as it has me.
Okay. Thank you.
Godspeed, my friends.
Jonas then took the orb from May and worked the mechanics of it. The oval windows that encircle the diameter of the vessel disclosed, releasing the magic from within. As ever, this unknowable power went leaping, reaching, clawing into the fabric of our reality. A passageway was torn open, a bridge between worlds spanned. May, Clyde, Joseph, and I steeled ourselves. Then, into that flaring emerald maelstrom of wind and light, the 4 of us did plunge. It was not the portal we feared, but what lay on the other side of it. Do good, fight evil, repeat. I'm Lindsay Leck, and this is the Endless Elsewhere podcast.